and welcome to episode 7.
That's right, episode 7.
So lucky number 7, we thought today, instead of being all business, we would do some play and talk about what's binge worthy on TV, because, you got to take a break. Even if you're looking for a job, you've got to still take some time and watch some TV and relax and chill. And I would say,
well, first let's talk a little bit about what's going on with us and what have you been doing. I think you had an adventure this weekend, so I want to know all about it.
So yes. I went to Turner Falls in Oklahoma, and we went out to the there's a 77-foot waterfall, I think is what it is. I don't know. I didn't see the side with the waterfall exactly because that's where a lot of people were. So we found a space where we could be socially distant from people and just hang out in the water and chill. We kind of hiked up and down the river. We got to the point as far as you could to see where the water would fall over. But there's like a rope probably 50 feet back from that, because I'm sure some idiot at some point got really close and fell off. And considering that we saw people out there drinking and sun and water is not a good idea, I would advise. And when I say drinking alcohol. So yes, not a good thing. I saw some interesting people do some interesting topples over, and I'm surprised they didn't hurt themselves. But yes, it was a good little adventure. It was great to be outside. So yeah, it was good. How about yourself?
That's awesome. I actually went to visit, I went to Waco and visited Chip and Joanna Gaines' Magnolia, their store. And it's always a good adventure to, go out there. And they actually did a really good job with the social distancing, and they had a line and required a mask. And I really appreciate all the businesses that are taking the extra step, to ensure safety for not just for their team members, but also the shoppers that are coming. I just felt like I needed a little bit of a break and didn't want to go too far away. So the episode today is all about binge-worthy shows and movies and documentaries. These are some of our favorites. We think you will really enjoy and maybe even expand your horizons a little bit. So we have intrigue, we have drama, we have comedy, we have everything on this list. So hang tight and listen up.
What would you like to start with? What category? I feel like we should have a wheel that spins. So the category is,
let's start with docuseries. That's usually a pretty serious one, and then we'll go into fun stuff.
That is your wheelhouse. Yeah, it's not unless it's the Tiger King, which, by the way, there's a new thing coming out on the Animal Planet called Surviving the Tiger King. By the time this episode airs, it will have come out already, because I think it comes out on July 23rd. So just a little plug there if you are an Animal Tiger King person. So that'd be my only one.
It's a docuseries, and one thing I've actually realized now more so than ever is that you kind of have to take docuseries with a grain of salt. They do take some liberties. But what was so interesting about Tiger King is that he came to light during the presidential election, because he, of course, ran for president. And I believe Jamie Oliver is the one who sort of brought him into the limelight. And I have taken a journey with him since then for the last 4 years. So it was really interesting to see the drama, the intrigue, and just all the different characters on the docuseries. I mean, one tops the other, right? Like, it's just chaos no matter where you go, whether it's the Tiger King or his competitors. I mean,
so we're next one documentary, because I know we got a lot, so we probably should start shooting through these, so we don't like people they may lose us because they may go get binge worthy on something and walk away. So we want to make sure you get through our list.
Documentaries. Well, did you watch the Jeffrey Epstein one?
I haven't been able to bring myself to do it, so it's sitting in my queue, but I haven't brought myself to do it.
That one, just because it gives a lot of insight in the amount of people, very famous people out in the world that were tied to Jeffrey Epstein. It was something that was interesting, and to what extent is the big question, right? And he had a sort of a group of supporters Epstein did who helped him sort of perpetuate these, this lifestyle and continue these crimes, which was really sex trafficking of minor girls. And what was really interesting is that you don't really find out this in the documentary, but through some of the research I did, the scandal was actually exposed through a journalist in Miami, and she did a lot of research and a lot of background, checks and whatnot, and really exposed this guy, which then got picked up by national news and whatnot. So I don't think she ever really got the appreciation that she deserved for all the hard work she did. So kudos to her. And, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's part of Jeffrey Epstein's crew, is now getting, investigated. So some interesting things. And then, of course, there's Surviving R. Kelly. There was an original series, and then there's a second follow-up, and there's actually a third, I believe, movie around it. And Jeffrey Epstein's story is insane, but R. Kelly tops it, I feel like, and it's just...
I'm gonna have to put that on my list. So
you have to watch it. And the thing is, this man, he's a very troubled man. I'm conflicted with the R. Kelly, the person, the one who was he himself victimized as a child, and in turn changed into this predator, and really controlled so many women and minor girls, and treated them in the worst possible way. And these accounts are from the victims themselves, and they talk through all the different allegations and the court hearings, and it's shocking to me the fact that it went on as long as it did. But I also see why it's easy to do that, because when there is someone in sort of a power, kind of like the whole Harvey Weinstein situation, there is someone in power, it's easy for them to maybe control people who are, that need something from them or need their support. So I don't know. I just hope. I know R. Kelly's trying to get out as well because of COVID, and I'm sure he and Tiger King might be in cahoots with that.
I think that one brings it to an interesting transition to talk about kind of maybe more something. It's not even a show that Hollywood. I was just going to flip over to that one. So it's rather new on Netflix. I didn't really know much about it when I started watching it. And it is really it takes real characters that are like real, but they flip the story around. So it's about people trying to make it in Hollywood and kind of where they're at. And one of them being like Rock Hudson in there. And that the idea, they show that the talent agent who took a lot of actors, and he did the same kind of thing, preyed on them, like where he himself was homosexual, but also then found men that they couldn't come out during that time. And so he would find ways to manipulate them, get things he wanted, but then he would try to make them appear as very male, heterosexual. Like, so Rock Hudson, of course, being one of those, right? So, and it talks about kind of, he was kind of a slime ball. And why this is a fictional story, like I said, they use some facts and figures in there that as I look through, but they kind of flip history. So in this story kind of going through, you just got to know that it's not what really happened, but it's like, what would happen if they did things differently in Hollywood and things came out this way? And you got to take some of it with a kind of, I was like, I don't know if I want you with a grain of salt and like go and get through it, because at the end of it is a really great story. And thinking like, if people had just spoken up so much sooner for, the LGBT community, for women, for people of color, how things could be so different. It's a great, I really liked it. It was good. We binge watched through it pretty quickly and not even knowing what we were surprisingly getting into. So that kind of, if you'll follow me here. So it's just kind of the historical fiction piece then too. So I know that's where, so Jigna likes the documentary type thing like that. And I do love history, but I I like more like the way far away
The
history.
what if history. Yeah, the crazy
Or,
stuff.
yeah. Farther away, like than reality close to me. So I know we have a couple other shows on our list that fall in that kind of category there. So I know you're looking
Yeah,
at
we
those.
have, that was Hollywood, right?
That was Hollywood, yeah.
That was Hollywood. Okay. And then there are some sort of docu-series and other shows that are maybe remakes of old shows that were sort of loved and cherished, if you want me to say that. But one of them is Unsolved Mysteries. The second one I want to talk about was Roswell. So Unsolved Mysteries, I don't know if I've ever watched the original. I might have. I was too young. I was a baby, or at least.
Oh, you are not that young. I probably had no interest to you though.
I was a baby. No, I just don't remember actually watching it, to be honest with you. I may have. But the new one is interesting. They have some good stories. I like the cinematography. It's done very differently. The camera angles and the way they tell the story is, I feel, is very unique. I haven't seen that as much in docuseries. I appreciate what they're trying to do, the producers are trying to do, and the filmmakers. I just don't think the stories are strong enough. Maybe I've just been shocked to the core so many times. It's just, I might be a cynic at this point in time, and I'm just,
Okay, but if you want to be shocked, and I have to watch these on fast forward, and I know this is not on our list, but it's The Hoarders.
Oh,
I have to speed through it because I can't, but I want to see like how bad can it really be, but then I like have to fast forward through it.
Yeah, and it's a train wreck, right? Like,
I just
disorder.
Yeah, it is just, I just can't believe it's real. Like it's to that point. So anyway, all right.
I feel I can empathize with the people who are in that situation. There's definitely some sort of a trauma that they're going through, but oh goodness, I don't know if I can live that way either. Speaking of train wrecks, 90 Day Fiance, have you seen?
I have not, but I have heard what a wreck that is too.
Oh my goodness. These people put themselves into situations thinking that they are in love, or that the person that they're with is in love with them, and it's a disaster. I feel like some of it might be sort of put on for the show.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But I've seen people, go across the world for these, their loves of their lives, and then realize when they get there that it's not all as it was cut out to be, and they've lost all their money in the process. Like, you have $200 in the bank. How do you think you're going to go overseas and live for the rest of your life? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, make smart choices, please. Make smart choices.
Yeah. So if you're feeling vulnerable and unemployed, don't make that crazy leap is what we're saying at this moment, right?
Yeah. Or even if you are employed, just don't.
Yes.
Put it in your 401k, in your IRA, whatever it is, save that money. If that fiance or that person is that much in love with you, they will meet you in the middle somewhere.
What show could we tell them to tune into if they're feeling that vulnerable, like to get sucked into something else?
Sucked into something else? Well, we were talking about Roswell, and I'm not sure if a lot of people watch the original. It was one of my favorite shows growing up, and in the 90s and 2000s, and it's very nostalgic for me, and it's very well done. And oh my goodness, the actors and the in the Indian culture, we call it a good time pass, or like passing the time. It's a good time pass show. So that's I like Roswell for that, and it's actually on Netflix, I believe, and it's definitely binge worthy.
So if you like talking about nostalgic shows, I think one for me, I know we're skipping over in categories, so I apologize, but it's Supermarket Sweep. Okay, so I was flipping through on Netflix and it came up and I was like, what? So I started watching these old episodes. First of all, and it's the new Supermarket Sweep version is what it says. So they must have had a reboot sometime in the 90s, because they got the big shoulder pads and the vests that look like they belong on upholstery, and people's hair is fringy and the bangs that go like this and these big old bows and what everybody's wearing. I'm just like, oh God, like, I'm so sorry. Like that fashion never existed. And then, but it's so funny just to watch. It's the whole thing. Like the show hasn't changed, right? The whole premise. So, and what I understand is Netflix is doing this because they're going to release a new supermarket sweep. So I'm looking forward to that. And if it really comes out and when the pandemic's over and if we can try, Jigna, I think we should travel out to see if we can get on it. So then when they say, who has the, Jiffy popcorn or something, we're like, then we go running up and, I think we'd be great at it.
I would win that. I'm my last. So we're talking about game shows, and I do want to talk a little bit about the ones I actually really like as well. And this is maybe not as much of a game show. Maybe it is a game show. Floor is Lava.
Oh, it's a game show.
A game show. Well, I guess they do compete, right? So, oh my goodness, this is the best family show you can watch. Anyone, any age would love it, and just sucks you in.
I just though, like, I was glad to read though that everything is made of like foam, because like the first couple times I watched it, they're like slamming their face into things. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very safe. You do wonder. So I'm glad it is safe.
But where do they go after they fall into the lava?
I wondered that. So if for those who don't know what this is about, is there's a team of 3 people and there's 3 teams. They compete to go through this sort of a maze, a room maze, which has different themes, and it could be like
one's like a museum,
ancient museum style, like which has like a piece, like a pyramid and whatnot. So with that, all the other areas that doesn't have these pieces are just red water, and they call it lava. Of course, it's warm, but it's safe. So you're what you're supposed to do is get from one end, from the start to the finish, without falling into the lava. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I don't know why. It's just.
When have you gotten far enough down the episodes so they get down to where they have sometimes 2 players?
Oh, I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, so it kind of changes the dynamics up some. So
yeah, because it is all about teamwork. You have to have one individual go one path, and there are multiple paths, right? So, and the other one has to go the other path, because you may need a, let's say a tool from one side to help you with getting your partner on the other side to cross over. So it's just a lot of fun, and I love watching it with my son and my mom and my dad. So it's a lot of fun. We can all sort of enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely. And one that's not a family show, but I think it's hilarious. Actually, there's 2 of them. There's 8 out of 10 Cats and Countdown with 8 out of 10 Cats. And this is Jimmy Carr is the host, and he's British. These are British shows, and so much fun. 8 out of 10 Cats. It's all about statistics, and they talk about the top 3 most talked about individuals or politicians, whatever it might be. And then, but they have comedians and these famous people, and they just make fun of each other in a good, lighthearted way. And you realize that roasting another person is okay as long as it's in good humor. And Countdown is even more fun, I think, because they incorporate the sort of comedy in with the there's a addition where they put a bunch of numbers, and they have to basically add, subtract, multiply, somehow get to the main number. So there's some high numbers, you get like a 75 or a 50, and then 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. And then there's they have to somehow do sort of the mathematics around those set numbers to get to the sort of the goal, which could be a 750, whatever it might be. It's really neat, and you have to do it really fast. And the host, Jimmy Carr, tries to distract him with all these little antics and stuff. And it's really neat. And then the second part of that show is you get letters, like a certain number of consonants and vowels, and you could choose the number of vowels and consonants, whatever. And then you have to make make a word out of those options. And whoever has the longest word with the most letters is sort of the winner of that round. It's really neat. It's a lot of fun. I probably wouldn't watch it with your little ones. I would say PG-13 it is how I would rate it, but And Jimmy Carr has the funniest laugh ever. If nothing else, you just want to tune in for the laugh.
The other way, if you want another family-friendly one, would be Holy Moly. So it's about like a mini golf like competition, and it's just really funny because they commentate like real commentators, and like there's a prize winning, like it's a special jacket you get at the end, like in golf. Like it's this whole parody on like golf matches, but it's with mini golf. But these people take it really seriously, and there's these obstacles, and some of them are kind of painful looking, like the floor is lava as well. So it's another good fun one. We watch it on Hulu, and like our whole family likes to sit down and watch Holy Moly. So that's another good one.
I need to check that one out. I haven't done that yet, so that'll be on my list. And you know, some of the late night shows are always a lot of fun. Graham Norton's show is another European one I really like. He just gets the celebrities to say the best, the funniest things and tell the greatest stories. And I really love the format and the way he really gets them to open up. I haven't seen that in any of the late night shows here. And I'll be sad when he kind of leaves because I believe he is retiring soon. But that's a great show to watch. And there's 3 episodes of it online, I believe on YouTube and
Perfect.
On Let's talk about one you and I really, really enjoy. And it's in its last season, and it's about to end, and we're both very sad about it.
Yes. Ozark.
Yep.
Yeah. So I know it is sad tear, right? So what the? Yeah. Marty.
Yes. You do a really good Marty impression. Not
Marty, Ruth.
Sorry. Yes, you're absolutely right. You do a great Ruth impression. You had called me when it was on earlier this year, and you said, I do a pretty good Ruth impression. I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't believe you, and then you started it, and like, well, actually, that's spot on. We can't do it right now.
I know, because I don't want to say those words, but yeah, she has like, a real word, and her script must be a cuss word. So like, I wonder if she goes home to her real life and so by accident just starts talking to everybody like that. I don't know. But yeah, it is a show that I did not think it was going to take the turns that it took. And first of all, I think it takes Jason Bateman and really expands his ability as an actor, because he's been in so many kind of hokey things. Like, why I love Arrested Development, probably one of my other favorite shows to binge watch. Mm-hmm. But Ozark, like, he just took a whole new turn, and I think it is just so intense. And the way I just don't want to say too much because I want people, if you haven't seen it, to see it. But the way season 3 ended, I'm just gonna say I was like this.
I was too. I did not expect that at all. And we won't spoil it, but every single season, the ending is just fabulous. It leaves you wanting more, and that is the genius of Ozark, right? And I agree. Jason Bateman has directed, he's a producer, and it really shows you sort of his breadth as a not just an actor, but a storyteller, filmmaker, if I say so. So kudos to him. And Wendy Bird, Laura Linney. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just I appreciate how she has her characters evolved throughout the show, and how they've made her sort of the more in the front lines of things. And kudos to Jason Bateman for allowing that to even allowing is the wrong word, I think, but for taking the backseat in certain situations to have Wendy Bird and Laura Linney's abilities just shine. And season 3 is really all about Wendy Bird, I feel. And season 2, they kind of they set it up, but 3 is really about her life, and some of it is a backstory, and you get to understand why she is the person that she is, and why she makes those tough choices. And she's got to make some tough choices in this one. And I was floored by everything that happens. And there's some very interesting. One thing I do want us to talk about, and I think we need to spoil this a little bit just to talk about it, is Ruth's cousin and his love interest. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a very interesting, right? Her cousin Wyatt actually has an affair, a relationship, I should say, with a very older
Woman.
lady.
Yeah.
Darlene Snell is her name. And I think there's a 50-year difference between the two.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel a little like, but you can't again stop watching it. Like,
yeah. What I appreciated about it is that they themselves in the show, the characters really make fun of that as well. And there was a line in there where he's, saying something along like, yeah, like I'm dating a lady who's like the age of my grandma or something like that. It was just a really interesting turn, and they did do a good job, in my opinion, of telling that story without making it seem so hokey. So
yes,
I just love it.
Yeah. So that's a great one. So some other, I think, binge worthy ones. Some of these that you and I haven't seen. I know some ones I've told Jigna and she's told me. And one I'm going to say, if you kind of want to take another like shock show you watch and you can't you're like, what's going to happen next, is The Great. It's on Hulu. It's about Catherine the Great. They've taken, it's more like a historical fiction. So they've taken some liberties with this, and but supposedly her husband was like a real jerk anyway, and the theories are that she had him killed and took over Russia that way. So you kind of go through some of this, and I would encourage you, as you watch it, go and read some of the real history about her, and so to understand kind of how they're doing the parody of this. But first of all, I always love a good, badass, strong female character, and she certainly is. And but the thought of where, just as I read more about Catherine the Great, the things that she did do for Russia during that time too, like more progressive for schooling, to get women to read, to just the things that she was about. Kind of an incredible story there. But then on top of that, just this whole, how she's coming about to try to take over and become, the first woman czar of Russia, and as she comes into this place. So I don't want to tell you too much to spoil it, but it certainly is not a family-friendly one, I will tell you that. But it is, it's just got a lot of wittiness to it, and just, you're like, one thing takes you here, and then it's history, but yet it's not, and it's brilliant. I thought it was brilliant the way it's done. I can't wait for the second season, so I think that's a really good one as well.
There you go again, with your historical fiction.
Oh no, I got one more, Turn.
Okay. Oh yes, that's I actually started watching it. I haven't finished it. So it's the one with Jamie Bell, correct?
I'm horrible with actor names, I believe so. But it is about the spy ring of the Revolutionary War. I think it's only 4 seasons. So I actually watched it when it was in its live progression on it, and it's now on Netflix, and I would recommend it. It is something that I don't remember learning in US history a lot about the spy ring, and they bring out the spy ring, and I think it's really fascinating. And they take more historical on it than they do the fiction part, because I have since then picked up and read some of the more historical things about the spy ring. So it is it's just kind of an interesting how Washington got his information, how they got things across, just what they were having to do to get back and forth. And there were a number of people in the Revolutionary War that then you don't even know, like women, even as we talk about the controversy of people having slaves, there were also some of these slaves that were involved into helping in the American Revolution. They were proponents of this and of getting information and helping through this. So it's a fascinating backstory of that. And then if you're really into history, there are a number of books that are out there about the real spy ring. So, and there's probably a real documentary out there too, I think, as well, I suspect. But it's another good one. And it's just I will just tell you too, the character that's the British guy, his name is Simcoe. He is so creepy villain. You love-hate him too. I just can't stand him, but I love to see him come on screen because he's so villainous. And yeah, anyway.
That's good to know. And yes, it is, it's called Turn, Washington Spies is what it's called. And it does have Jamie Bell on it. Just looked up. So I go onto imdb.com all day, every day. That's sort of, if I got paid for every single time I went on there, I'd be a millionaire right now. So just so you know, IMDb, if you need, I'm here if you need to pay someone. But I really love that, and I'm not getting paid by them, by the way, but I really do love that site. And just for anyone who is a big TV movie buff fan.
I use it all the time when I'm
resource.
like, where is that actress from? And then I'll look up the TV show or the movie, and then I look through the cast. I'm like, oh, they were in that. Yeah, too.
I've been known to do that in the movie theater while I'm watching a movie, because I always want to know
that person with
story
the
and trivia
screen.
and stuff. And people don't like that very much, so I've had to stop doing that.
That's why they make
what I try to do, honestly, and I don't know how many people would really agree with me on this or not, but I do really appreciate going to matinees if I can, and being maybe the only person in the movie theater and just watching it. It's sort of like my own private viewing.
Today, that might be the only way I'd go to the movie theater.
Yeah. I've actually loved, I've taken this opportunity to go even more to the drive-in movies. So guys, if you haven't had a chance to do that and you are lucky enough to have a drive-in movie theater within driving distance, I would say take advantage. It is the most amazing experience. I think it's fabulous. You can go in your pajamas and watch a movie.
You can take your dog with you.
You can take your dog and the kiddos, and it's just blankets and just have a good time. I really enjoy drive-in movies, and if you do have that opportunity, just take advantage. At least go one time and see what it's all about.
Perfect.
Yeah, so let's keep going and talk a little bit about you were talking a little bit about historical dramas and the what if scenarios. There's one show that is so fabulous that comes to mind is Handmaid's Tale, and that's on Hulu, and it is such an amazing show, and it really sort of goes into, the what if scenario if, there was sort of this coup by these extremist group of individuals and really turn the U.S. into this regime, I would say, very super conservative, and basically anyone who is any female who is able to have a child, there aren't very many left in the world, and anyone who is able to is sort of put into this situation where they're a handmaid, where they go into people's houses. They're assigned masters in a sense, and they are basically forced to have sex with them, and it's a big ritual and whatnot, and try to repopulate the world in a sense. And that's sort of a quick overview of it. What's your thought about it?
So I loved the book. I will say, first of all, I have not read the second book, but I loved the first book. I loved the TV show. But, I know I will tell you that the last season that I watched, it was a little much sometimes for me. I will tell you, you have to take it like knowing, because sometimes you watch it and you think, how close could this really happen? And I think I was waking up in the middle of the night. I was screaming, having nightmares, and my husband was waking me up, and he'd be like, I think you need to stop watching that.
Regardless, that's scary.
I finished watching it, and I can't wait for the next season, because I will still watch that one too, because I need to know where it's going to go. But I think it is makes you realize you be aware of how things are kind of going, regardless of what you sit on the political side or anywhere. You're just understanding that, like, how could people get into a situation like this? And I love dystopic stories anyway. And so I think it's like that, the rule of like, it's gradually then suddenly, like you just don't notice little liberties or little things taken away. And then they got to these places and all of this dystopic stuff. So
yeah, and speaking of the dystopian world, there's also the other end of the spectrum, which is The Walking Dead, which is one of my favorite of all time, and I can't wait until the next season comes. And the very last season was not shown. It has been, the very last episode of the last season hasn't been shown yet because of COVID, and they were never able to finish the post-production of it. So I'm hoping it comes back sooner rather than later. I might have to wait another year, but it is what it is.
So let's change paths from The Handmaid's Tale. It's a little, like I said, dark. So something a little more happy or silly. What is your favorite show on that list of ours that's happy or silly?
You're silly. How about Never Have I Ever?
Oh, yeah. That's so good. So I have to ask, how relevant is it to like you being Indian, like, is that real? Like, what?
I think there are some parts of it that are definitely very real. I saw a little bit of myself in her, in the character, and I appreciated this character. I think there are so many parts in her that I wish I were when I was her age. She is a very outgoing, strong-minded individual, right? And I really appreciate that.
For those who haven't seen the show, it's like a coming of age story of this teenager. She's Indian, but I don't know. I can't remember if they tell us she was born in the US. So I think her parents immigrated, right? Because they kind of go back and they show when they moved to the house, and there's just there's been some family tragedy, and then she's got her cousin who's moved over here, and then there's the whole setup. Like, I love the setup of the trying to set her up with somebody to get married.
Yeah.
Right. And then when he shows up at the door, she's thinking he's gonna, and he's like, I was just like, this again, another moment when I went, he was really cute.
Yeah, he was very cute. And generally that doesn't happen. I don't think there's a lot of that cute looking guys out there in general, and especially not when it's an arranged
Hollywood,
marriage.
Right?
It's Hollywood, right? Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. In all these shows, they all look good all the time, right? Even the ugly people look really good. So
exactly.
But
so there's that.
Okay, so the Indian show, though. But let's talk about another Indian show that you like. Then let's take it to the. I have it on my list. I'm going to start watching it today. Now, again, the Indian Matchmaker, right?
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's just guilty pleasure. It's sort of on the same lines as the 90 Day Fiance, as the Real Housewives. Maybe not as dramatic as Real Housewives, but there are some interesting characters. It's actually on the top 10 of Netflix's top 10 of US today.
Right.
So it is catching on, and it's on fire right now. And some of the bachelors and the bachelorettes have their own little personalities, and there's one lady who's a lawyer in the show, and her name is Aparna, and she's very strong-willed, which I can appreciate and commend her for, but I also feel like that's sort of her downfall at the same time. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. And she is a firecracker. She tells it like it is, and in the beginning I really didn't like her. You didn't want her to be your matchmaker if that was the case. Well, Aparna is one of the ones, the bachelorette, bachelorettes, and the matchmaker. Her name is Seema Thaparia from Mumbai, or Mumbai. That's how she introduces herself everywhere she goes. Hi, I'm Seema Thaparia from Mumbai. Hi, I'm Seema Thaparia from Mumbai. And at the end of it itself is really interesting, and I've never been in that position. However, it was interesting, and this is more of a modern arranged marriage. So
some great stuff that got cut because of COVID too, we know. But I'm going to take down one that Jigna has not watched yet, and I'm like, okay, so I've got all these ones I'm going to watch but Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
What's up? Why have you seen it, girl?
It's on my list. I haven't gotten to it. I think I'm just so busy watching train wrecks that I haven't seen Schitt's Creek yet. Okay, so I hear that's a train wreck itself. So.
The first season I had a hard time watching. I'm glad I got through it though, and they're just, the characters are over the top, and I think though you come to love them all for what they are and how they learn to go from being this really rich family, having to move to this town that they kind of bought as a joke called Schitt's Creek. And because they lost like everything but Schitt's Creek, and so there they are redefining themselves, and Eugene Levy and his son are like the ones who write, I think, and produce the show together, and and I think too it's kind of beautiful story too, and it like with the I think some of it for the LGBTQ community, and kind of some of the things that they talk about in that too. And I get kind of goosebumps because in the last episode, there's some really hard struggle things they talk about. And even, I forget his name, the Eugene Levy's son, who plays in the show as his son too. I'm sure Jigna's IMDb
I'm going to look it up right now.
But he talks, he even does like talks about in the end too, like about some of the struggles and some of the emotional suicide things that could, because there's some things they deal with in that. And I just feel like it was a really heartfelt message, and I really appreciated it for that as well. And it's just a fun show, and there's like a lot of just silliness with it. So I think, if I'm going to watch Indian Matchmaker, you need to watch Schitt's Creek.
I will. I need to. And by the way, that's Dan Levy, and his character name is David Rose on the show.
And there's like a vote for like Lego sets, because like if you don't know, there's some silly Lego sets out there. Like there's a Friends one, and I have like the not The Office, the one with the nerdy guys. My mind just went blank. The Big Bang Theory.
Bang Theory.
Yeah, one. But there is a vote out right now for Lego to make the Schitt's Creek set like one. Like I really hope they do, because I would totally build it and then just put it on my desk. And
there you go.
So anyway,
along with your llama stuff, right?
My llama stuff, yes. I as much as I love Ozark, I don't know how I'd feel about having an Ozark Lego set. Like it'd have to have
a Wendy. You don't want a Ruth and a Wendy bobblehead, like just to remind you of very strong, no nonsense women. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. So what else is on our list? I know there's a couple more things.
There are a few dramas that I've been really into, and one of them is an international one. And if anybody is willing to watch a few dramas that are with subtitles, some of them are dubbed in English if you'd like. One of them is The Heist, which is a Spanish drama, and it's just caught on fire.
Yeah, my son loves that show.
It's a really good show, and just to see how they're gonna pull off this huge heist, and the characters are very interesting. Some of it I do feel like they kind of missed the mark on some of the storylines or some of the characters, how they react to things, but overall it's pretty suspenseful and very entertaining. So I really like their approach on things, and they do continue through the few seasons that they do have, and of course they leave the season in cliffhangers, which gets me so mad. But
you wouldn't come back
watching
if there wasn't a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's a couple more that are actually Indian. One of them is Breathe Into the Shadow. It just came on Amazon, and it's about these parents whose child gets kidnapped, and then 9 months later they find out that the person who's kidnapped her wants the parents to commit these murders and to keep the child alive. And it's a dark one, and then
sounds deep and dark.
It's very, there's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of suspense, and you find out actually halfway through the series, you find out who the kidnapper is. And I can't disclose who it is because it kind of plays into the story a lot. So you kind of have to watch it, and then you're kind of very vested in sort of seeing that the kidnapper doesn't get caught. And you kind of you're rooting for the parents at first, and then you're rooting for the bad guy throughout half this season, which is a really mind-bending
dark storyline, or empathizing, or like different gangs. It makes me think of one of the other shows I like, because I like a lot of the coming of age story ones. I don't know why, I just do. On My Block, and that's on Netflix, and I think it's got 4 seasons out right now, and they're going to have one more season, I believe. And it is about these kids that live, I think it's South LA maybe area, Southern California, and they're Hispanic, and there's a lot of funny like humor about Hispanic families. And so for those who don't know, I grew up in South Texas on the border. I actually could relate to a lot of their cultural things they talk about, because all of them, or the majority of my friends, were Hispanic, and just the nuances of those families together, and just some of the things there. So some of that stuff happens, but they talk about, like, there's a girl in there, she's her dad, like, she's a latchkey kid kind of, and her dad's like a truck driver, so he's not always home. What's going on with her? And she runs around with 3 guys, and they're all best friends, and it's kind of an eclectic group together too. And but it's a dramedy. I will say there's things that happen will make you cry, will make you laugh, and they left you kind of on a big cliffhanger too, of where kind of, they fast forward after a certain point in their life. And so when they come back, and then the last season is going to be a few years ahead. But it really, again, shows how people evolve and how you thought one character wouldn't go this way, but they ended up going that way, and it just tugs at you. And I think it was a good show. I was sad when we finished that. So I got one more on my list I want to mention before we kind of wrap up, and I bet you may have two more, but is Warrior Nun. Mm-hmm. So it's rather new on Amazon. It's on Netflix, excuse me. It's rather new on Netflix. I didn't really, so first of all, it's based off a comic. So my daughter informed me of that. I did not know that. Second, I'll tell you this. I would join a convent and become a nun if I could be that badass and like wear all the garb they wear and learn how to like wield a weapon like that. I'm just gonna say. And they look pretty badass doing it. So it is not the storyline that I expected. And this isn't giving anything away because it happens in the very beginning. Like the girl who becomes the warrior nun, she actually was, and I won't tell you how it happened. You learn more about this, but she was paralyzed completely as a young girl, left in this orphanage and with these nuns, and she dies. Okay, this all happens the first few minutes of the movie. Basically, you see this, and she gets this halo put into her, which revives her, and she becomes this warrior nun. So I said, but she's kind of like, she like wakes up from the dead, right? And she's like, all of a sudden she can walk and move. She remembers everything as before. So now she's like this 18-year-old girl who's like, what do I do, right? And she's never like she gets out, like she leaves. She doesn't know what's happened, why this is happening. And she's experiencing everything for the first time because she's been in this orphanage all her life, pretty much paralyzed, and she's experienced stuff. She has lots of great one-liners, witty lines. People are like, what do you mean this is the first time you've done this or done that? But it's just a great story. The characters evolve, and I look forward to hopefully they make a season 2 and see where they go from there. So it's a good one.
It sounds like it's similar to sort of the experiences in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh yes! Oh my gosh, yes! I can't believe we didn't put that one on our list.
It just reminded me when you're talking about it because that's sort of a discovery, for lack of a better way to say it, genre. It's tell us a little bit about it.
So brilliantly written, and I have to say most shows I'm depressed when the season ends, and I think they wrap it up horribly usually. I thought it had a brilliant ending to it, and then I love that they've done a little comeback. There's an interactive Kimmy Schmidt you can watch too, and like pick options for Kimmy Schmidt in it. Like they're so great too. But that is, I love that. That's a great show too. Like I could go back and watch that one again.
Yeah, very cool. All right, I'm gonna talk a little bit about a few more dramas because I'm no fun and I don't like comedy. No, I do. I just have a couple more on the list that are specifically drama. So I'm just gonna go down this list, and You is one of them. It's about this guy who's basically a stalker and a killer, so serial killer. So
let me ask, how does it compare? Have you seen Dexter?
I haven't, however, I do know the premise of it.
Okay, because like that's like my favorite serial killer movie of all time or show of all time. So anyway, sorry, just was curious.
This is not. I don't believe that this is similar to it in a sense of Dexter having a conscience in a sense, and he kind of kills people that have been bad. Only the people that are not good, right? And then you, this guy is a stalker, and he doesn't necessarily kill only the bad people. He kills everyone who may stand in his way. So but he also recognizes that there's something wrong with him. And he does tend to find his match in certain situations or certain ways. So you end up, again, sort of similar to some of those other shows like Breathe, like you end up rooting for him at times. You end up wanting him to not get caught. There's another the show that was on, I believe, Apple TV called C, and that's with what's his name? Jason Momoa. Is in it, and basically the premise is a dystopian world where no one can see. Everyone is
Oh,
blind.
so it's like C from the
CSEE, yeah. And there are few that can see, but they generally, you can't let anyone know because they'll think that you are a bad omen and you're basically get killed. But it's very
So
interesting to
if you
see
cross that over with the bird box or what was ever that thing was called.
Yes. With oh my goodness, a Bird Box was like insane. I think I thought about that movie in that situation, and I would put myself in those scenarios. Like See and Walking Dead are all three sort of similar in my mind in that sense that where I end up, my mind kind of goes back to those certain situations that I saw, and A Quiet Place is another one, right? That movie where you just have to stay quiet, otherwise you're going to get killed. So I like
Okay, and then we talked about the other weird movie that's an international one that was dubbed over on the platform. Okay.
Yes.
It'll kind of jack with your mind a little bit. I'm just going to tell you, like, my family.
Yeah, it is. It is a very disturbing. There are some movies that are very disturbing, and I don't know if I'd ever want to watch them again. And the platform is definitely one of them. So if you're one who likes really crazy out there movies that are really mess up your mind for a minute, watch it. If you don't like it,
it's a deep thought about what would you do again in that situation, and being a have or have not, or a society, where you're kind of trapped on what food you would get, what would you do to survive, right? Again, and that notion, and when do you lose a conscience, and when do you kind of try to persuade, or where do you go? And that's it. I don't know. It's just
it tests your humanity, your level of humanity in it.
And then I often think the people who write this stuff, I want to know what's going on
in their mind. Yeah, they're just as messed up as those.
Or they're just extremely creative. Like I can't.
Yeah.
Like that is not in my ability. Like,
not in your wheelhouse.
No, I would more likely be able to script a coming of age story than I would something way out there.
Yeah, it's a definitely a different one. And one of the other ones that really sort of it sort of kept me down for a few days after I watched it was Donnie Darko. I believe that's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal, and that was a hard one for me to watch. I don't know if it was something that just hit home for me or what, but it was a tough one for sure.
So that's when you have to go watch something really lighthearted, like Supermarket Sweep.
So let's talk about lighthearted and the old as gold, some of the classic shows that some of them we talk about all the time, and ones we've kind of grown up on, one being, of course, Seinfeld.
Of course.
It's I feel like
it's like the word binge worthy, sponge worthy.
Sponge worthy, exactly. So Seinfeld is one of them. One of the other ones is Friends. Some of these are classic, and you can just go back to those episodes and sort of refer back to some of these episodes in your real life. Like, oh, this reminds me of
what I like about it too is you don't have to. You can just pop in an episode. Like you don't have to know the storyline or the character development of it. You can just start watching one anywhere at any time, and I think that's it's like too, like even Cheers, like you could just go and watch one.
One show that I actually grew up on and I love watching is I Love Lucy. It was something I just really enjoyed, and you don't need to. So, I'm an immigrant, so I didn't know a lot of English when I was growing up, and you don't need to. You can watch it with your family and still understand a lot of the situations.
I loved Love Boat. So I like whenever I see that on something, like there's like a channel called Decade, like sometimes you can get Love Boat on there. I like to watch that one too.
We have a lot of shows on our list. I kind of want to hear what the audience has on their list. So if you can share your preferences, your top 3, top 10 shows that you're watching that you want to recommend to the rest of us. So be sure to comment on in the comment section, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn. So be sure
let us know what's binge worthy.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we jump off, I want to talk about our top 3. And these are ones we've both watched. and really recommend. So number
Drum
three.
roll.
Number 3 is Never Have I Ever.
Yes.
It's a good one. And then number 2, one we haven't really talked about yet, is Little Fires Everywhere.
Oh yeah, Little Fires Everywhere. We talked about that earlier. You and I did, but not that. Yeah.
I just liked the way the characters of Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. You first feel like you've got them both figured out, right? These characters.
Yeah, but you don't.
Very, very generic. In a sense, you put them in this bucket, and then throughout the show you realize, well, they're a lot more complex than you really thought, and there's a reason one is behaving this way, and it's just all chaos at the end of it all. So maybe that's what I like, is just train wrecks. And then number 1 is,
drum roll, right? Our number 1 would be Ozark. So, and I think you all know, if you've watched it all the way through, why we'd say that, because we like the depth of the characters, the storyline, just a lot of things about it. So don't disappoint on season 4.
Yes, it's the last one, so be sure to tune in when it does come out. It'll probably be another year before it does, but just binge on the other ones until this one comes out. And then we do have a bonus. We can't ever forget this one that sort of started this podcast and this idea from the very beginning, and that is
Seinfeld.
And we refer to it all the time. So
Story About Nothing,
but you reference it all the time. So there is something to it for sure, and it's definitely binge worthy, and it'll put you in a good mood when you need it the most.
Yep, absolutely. All righty.
Okay, we are near the end of the show, and it is fortune time. I'm gonna go first, Jennifer, if that's okay.
All right, you go for it. Tell us what that fortune cookie says.
Let's see what we have here. All right, it says, there's more to balance than not falling over.
Ooh.
So I'm not sure what that means. Maybe it's saying that when you're binging on shows, balance out the different genres so your mind doesn't fall over.
So you don't do so much deep, dark train wrecks? I don't know. All right, let's see. Here we go. Well, I think this could apply to a lot of people these days, but be smart, be intelligent, and be informed. I think that's a good public service message for everybody, right? To be smart, be intelligent, and be informed.
PSA, there you go.
I think there's a lot of fake news out there, or don't be swayed by, do your due diligence. Knowledge is good power. So there you go. All right.
That's a really good point. I did get a really good lesson in this from somebody that came in my life for a brief moment, and they sort of told me, there's a lot of fake stuff out there, and you have to sort of weed through make sure the source that you have is good.
Which makes me think of another TV show, of course, The Man in the High Castle, and that's all. There's you can see how. Oh, leave it at that.
Really good show. Okay, we gotta stop. Have a great time binging on shows, and be sure to share yours, and we'll be back with another episode and another topic.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. Bye. Thanks, everyone.